Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Matt Bernier. Race number 6 at Keeneland on Bluegrass Saturday kicks off a $300,000 guaranteed pick 5 with a 50-cent minimum wager. It's the Grade 3 Commonwealth for sprinters going 7 furlongs. Make sure you get down early on Saturday with DRF Bets' first post bonus. Bet $25 to win on one horse in race number 1 at Keeneland, Santa Anita, and/or Aqueduct, where the preps are happening. Get a $10 bonus, win or lose. Learn more at drf.com/preps. Let's meet this field for the Grade 3 Commonwealth. Morning line favorite 3-1. Number 6. Limousine Liberal, and Limousine Liberal is just a hard knocker. He's banked $1.7 million in his career. Breeders' Cup Sprint last year just came up a little bit too tough for him. Roy H. coming back to win the Palos Verdes with a 109 buyer. Whitmore coming back to win the Hot Springs with a 104 buyer. Limousine Liberal just wasn't ready for that kind of competition on that day. He ran great in the Commonwealth last year, first start of the year, but I'm wondering if Ben Colebrook, as this horse is getting a little bit older, he's 7 years old now, will use this race on Saturday as a prep for the Churchill Downs Stakes on Derby weekend.
Especially when you consider his record at Churchill Downs as opposed to his record here at Keeneland. It's not that he's run poorly at Keeneland, but he certainly enjoys the Churchill Downs trip a little bit more. The 7/8 of a mile shouldn't be an issue, but I tend to agree with you. I think this could probably be nothing more than a means to an end. And look, I'm not going to talk anybody off of 3-1. If you think that that's a fair number on him, I would take it, but I just think there are other more intriguing horses at better prices here.
Wonder if Todd Pletcher was really disappointed when the one Coppertown drew the rail, because this is a horse that just seems to have problem getting out of the gate. When he's good, he's good. Like he was at Keeneland, coming off of a lengthy layoff last fall, earning a triple-digit buyer. Based on the quality of that race, he was 2-1 in the Cigar Mile. He didn't break in the Cigar Mile. He didn't break in his next start, the Hooper. Last time out in the House Hope, he returned to form a little bit. He just happened to catch a stablemate, Prince Lucky, who's in raging form. That horse coming back to win the Gulfstream Mile the other day with a 100 buyer.
Yeah, Prince Lucky's going to be a player in any race that he shows up in with the form that he's in right now. My concern with Coppertown, even though he ran a respectable race most recently there in the House Hope, he was poorly away from the gate again. And I mean, this has been basically him since he came back off that long layoff, including the win at Keeneland. He just hasn't gotten out of the gate very well. Now you combine that with breaking from the inside. Boy, I just, you know, if he breaks alertly, he is one of the more likely winners in here. Based on what he's done, we're trending the wrong direction with the gate break, and usually we've talked about it. Gate break situation, that can be the sign of a horse going the wrong way. To me, at 5-1, I'll let him beat me.
From his talent alone, I got to use him in any kind of multiple race wagers because, as you said, if he does break, he probably works out a good trip. Let's look at the Timeform U.S. pace projectors, see where they have Coppertown, see where they have the speeds. Coppertown in mid-pack. The 11, Bobby's Wicked One, expected to be close to the pace. I'm the president and perhaps only member of the Bobby's Wicked One fan club. I liked him in the Malibu on opening day of the Santa Anita Winter Meet. I don't think he disgraced himself at all against some pretty good horses. He was up close to a fast pace. He only got beat 5. Al Stahl dropped him in class at the fairgrounds. He got his confidence back. 2 wins by a combined 13 3/4 lengths. Buyers trending the right way. This is his 3rd start as a 4-year-old. He's just outside some other speeds. I think he has the ability to sit if the 2 and maybe the 4 go, and that's how I think the pace is going to play out. I think Bobby's Wicked One's going to break, and Miguel Mena will sit him just off the early leaders.
I think he's very talented. I think it's hard to argue with that as well. You take a look and see what he's accomplished in such a short amount of time. He's a horse that I feel like you can pretty confidently say he's going to register a mid-90 buyer, probably a high 1-teen Timeform US rating. Most recently, he earned a 122 raw number. My concern with those 2 runs at the fairgrounds, both against short fields, and both of them at 6 furlongs. And I do wonder, you look at it, I know he's only run 3 times at 7/8, and he hasn't been embarrassed in them, but I wonder if he's going to be better ultimately going 3/4 as opposed to 7/8.
That's a very good point. Maybe 6 furlongs is just a little bit better for Bobby's Wicked One, especially if he is pressing a fast and competitive pace. The 12, Richie's in the house. He's got speed. He's basically got one way to go. The question is, can he run on dirt? He's never tried it before. He is 10 of 13 lifetime and has only been out of the exacta once in his life. But last time out at Golden Gate Fields, I mean, he beat a very weak field. And when you let a fast horse like Richie's in the house go the opening quarter in 23 seconds flat, he's not going to lose. He is a very talented win machine, but this is a real tough ask first time dirt.
I mean, he has earned his right to take a shot in a race like this. I think Larry Ravelli, you know what, you're going to take a chance in a spot like this. Unfortunately for him, there is other speed drawn to his inside. The 12 post is no bargain. I have no idea if he's going to be able to handle the main track. And I also do wonder about the distance. I think he's best going a little bit shorter. I know he's very, very comfortable, and he's won 3 out of 4 at 7/8. I personally think he's better slightly shorter.
I like what Wayne Lukas is doing with Warriors Club, who pulled off a 23-1 upset in this race last year. He returned him off the layoff going 2 turns. I think he wanted to avoid Whitmore in that Hot Spring Stakes that he used as a prep for the Commonwealth last year, and 2 turns just a little far for Warriors Club. I thought, considering the layoff, the distance, the wet track, he ran a sneaky good race. There's some pace in here for him to draft behind in mid-pack. He's got some figs on his page that indicates another upset could be in the works.
Absolutely, and we know, we've talked about it a number of times, the turnbacks, we're always fans of that. He's going to have the bottom where some of these horses, whether it's coming off the layoff, stretching out an extra furlong in distance, maybe they find that very end, that deep stretch a little bit tiring. Warriors Club is going to finally be hitting his stride at that point. I think it's a very interesting move here, and I do. If you're looking for a big bomb underneath, why couldn't he upset the apple cart?
Likewise, the 14 Majestic Dunhill is a true one-run closer. I'm expecting a Rad Ortiz to break. Just let these horses go and hope to work something out, probably trying to come around everybody, turning into the lane. Last time out, the trip worked out, and the General George, I thought he was just no match for Uncontested, who was much the best. He got a big pace scenario to run at that day, and he ran. He is a nice sprinter, whether it's on turf or on dirt. I'm not sure if 6 is at his best game on dirt. It seems like 7 might be okay for him, but he'll be running late given a fast pace.
I was going to say, really, it's going to be up to just the front end situation for a horse like this. If they go fast early, he's going to be running late. If they don't go quite as fast as they did in that General George, there's a real scenario where perhaps he has a little bit too much to do late and maybe an underneath award is the ceiling.
Runaway Ghost is a sleeper. 6 of 9 lifetime. Won the Sunland Derby last year. Shame he got hurt, or else we would have seen him under the Twin Spires in the Kentucky Derby. Away for a long time. He has not missed a beat since coming back to the races. 1 win sprinting, 1 win last time out over a couple of next out winners at 1-10. Now, both of those races at Sunland Park. But this is a horse that has shown the ability to sprint and stalk and finish. 15-1 on the morning line looks like value. He just has to up his buyer a little bit, and this is only going to be start number 10.
I like the turn back in distance. I think he's another one very similar to Warriors Club. They're going to have that bottom. They're going to be finishing at the end. The question now is, can he handle this hiking class? Because this is going to be probably the best field that he's faced throughout his career. I loved everything about his Sunland Derby. Unfortunately, he was gone after that, and he's done nothing wrong in either of these 2 return efforts. He's another one that he has earned his right to take a shot in a spot like this.
New York Central, 20-1 on the morning line. Another horse that has his chances in this race. Just consider his most recent start was off of an extremely long layoff. He ran a pretty solid race, beating a couple of next out winners. The 4th place horse coming back to win with a 95 buyer speed figure. Now, he is a stalker, and I wonder if maybe he'll be outrun just a little bit early, if the pace in this race will be faster than what he's used to seeing in his previous sprints. But this is a horse with a big pedigree who sold for a lot of money once upon a time. Maybe he's going to fulfill his potential as a 4-year-old.
I'm going to be curious to see how he handles a faster pace in here, because I understand it was soft and he sat a little bit off of it in that return effort. But in the grand scheme, I thought it was a pretty good situation. I know the 4th place finisher was a next out winner with a nice mid-90 buyer, but there's a part of me that wonders, when the real running is going on here, how's he going to react to that coming from a little bit farther back than 2 or 3 lengths?
Uno Mas Modelo. All he's done is win 7 of his last 9 starts. Now, I think he's taken advantage of some of those easier starter handicap spots at Gulfstream. Those are basically restricted stakes races, but he did run a 102 buyer speed figure over a wet track at Churchill, and we know one thing. He likes 7 furlongs. I'm just not sure he's a graded stakes horse, but how can you knock a win machine like this?
Now, he's another one. I don't love his chances as far as the win end is concerned, but if you're playing any kind of an exotic, he's one to use underneath because, again, the distance isn't going to be a problem for him. And from a number standpoint, he's not that far off from the main players.
Supreme Aura won the first 2 starts of his career like he was going to be a nice sprinter, and then the connections got some Derby fever. They ran him in the Risen Star. It did not work out. And after that, they put blinkers on him. It just seemed like they lost their way for a little while. After he won the Pegasus, he was odds-on in the Long Branch, and that preceded a long layoff. I wonder if Michael Stidham used that turf race last time out as a prep for this, because he didn't have a good trip. I don't think he's a turf horse to begin with. He's sneaky underneath. Again, I don't think he's good enough to win right now, but I think he's sneaky enough to make a run and make your superfecta.
Well, and he's still so lightly raced. You know, there's still plenty of upside in a spot like this. I agree with you. I don't personally think he's good enough to win a race like this, but it's not out of the realm of possibility that he takes a pretty significant step forward here.
Still having fun, basically known as a one-run closer throughout his career, was surprisingly close to the pace in the Malibu. 2 starts back. I mean, he was prompting 3 other horses while in between. He ended up in the pocket. I thought Kent D gave him a great ride. He shot up the rail. He just wasn't good enough that day. No shame in losing to a horse like McKenzie. Last time out in the General George, it was his usual running style. He got a big pace. He just didn't fire. And that, to me, is a little bit worrisome. He was the favorite that day.
Yeah, and especially when you consider that was a scenario where everything should have worked out for him on paper. There was a fast pace, and he just didn't really have any finish. And if I look at that and I say, well, Majestic Dunhill, he came from just as far back, and he actually was making up ground at the end. If I'm just looking at the 2 coming out of that race, I'm probably going to side toward Majestic Dunhill, even with that brutal outside post.
First start of the year for Proforma, who caught a nice horse last time out in Wind Time. That horse came back to win the Bonaparte on turf with a 100 buyer, then the Duncan Kenner on dirt with a 96. Like Wind Time, Proforma is proficient on turf, proficient on dirt. I think he's slightly better on the grass.
I tend to agree, but I got to be honest, he's the kind of horse I'd be interested in. I believe he's 20-1 on the morning line. This distance, I don't think is going to be an issue for him. Like you say, that race most recently has come back productive already. I think he's sneaky.
Let's take a look at our top selections for the Grade 3 Commonwealth Stakes. You're going with the 4, Uncontested, who has just been sensational in his 2 starts since returning off a lengthy layoff for this new barn. Blew him away at 16-1 in an optional claimer, and then just went fast all the way around the track in the General George, a race that's already produced a couple of next out winners. One of them, Duchère, ran a 105 in his next start. Uncontested, I think this pace might not be as crowded as it appears on the Timeform US pace projector. I either see him on the lead or sitting second or third, and in the form he's in right now, 12-1 on the morning line. Boy, you'd lock that in, right?
I wish I had looked at the morning line before we recorded out of the gate, because I probably would have made him my best bet over Much Better, who's going to be, you know, odds on in his race or pretty darn close to it. I just thought that General George was outstanding given the pace situation. He was stretching out to 7 furlongs. He put away the other speeds, and he held off some legitimate closers. And you brought up the form of the race. He's been flattered by a number of horses, not just the next out winners, but the 5th place finisher came back and earned a 95 in his next start, the 9th place finisher a 91. And I think he might be at his best on the lead, but early in his career, he did sit off of a target and still go and get the horse. I think there's a real chance that you let the 2 recruiting ready go, you park yourself off of his flank, you hope nobody on the outside goes and tries to cook everybody else's goose. I mean, if he's 12-1, I don't think he's going to be honest. I think he's probably in that 5-6-1 range, but even that I think is fair.
Give me numbers as we kick off this pick 5.
4, 6, 13, 5.
I'm going with Recruiting Ready, although I must admit I'm a little bit concerned about the 7 furlongs. He's a little bit like Uncontested, isn't he? He had a lot of back class. They switched barns, and all of a sudden he's just been on fire. Big win in the Gravesend, big Timeform US rating for that race. Gulfstream Park Turf Sprint. I won't hold the loss to World of Trouble, one of the better sprinters in the country, against him. And then he came back against a weaker field last time out. But what we both liked about that race is he didn't break very well, and he was able to sit in behind horses and still go around and beat them. I think this time around he is the speed nearest the rail, unless Coppertown decides he feels like breaking. I think he is going to eventually make the lead from horses like Uncontested, horses like Richie's in the House, and we'll see if he goes 7. In the form he's in right now, he's my top pick, but I'm using my top 4 picks in the pick 5. And that is 2, 1, 4, and 11 in the Grade 3 Commonwealth. Again, it kicks off a $300,000 guaranteed pick 5. Get involved early with DRF bets. Bet $25 to win on 1 horse in race number 3 at any of the 3 major prep tracks on Saturday. Get a $10 bonus, win or lose. DRF.com/preps is where you need to go. Approximate post for the Commonwealth, 4 o'clock Eastern on Saturday. Good luck.